and today I am going over Gaige and her comms. So I guess just dive into it right away. To start off with her vanilla legendary Necromancer comm, Gaige got the shaft here. Hers is kind of odd, and most characters had 9 buffs on theirs. Characters like Axton had 6 skills buffed and 3 passives, or Zero would have 5 skills, 3 passives, and a red text ability. Maya had 8, but Gaige only had 7. But also, she kind of broke the mold with it, where you can see most characters just had all tier 1. So she bumped down to some tier 2s here. She also went 3 skills in this tree all the way down to tier 5, which was an odd choice. It's not bad. I mean, more cooldown is great. But it's just so different from the other comms. And with Anarchy, you kind of had to do that. And I don't think Close Enough is really ever boosted by a comm, but maybe I'm wrong there. Maybe there's one comm that does do that. So yeah, she just kind of had odd choices. They didn't really move skills around for a lot of synergy. I mean, the better half is pretty awesome. I understand if they think this would be too much. Going down to the better half is a good choice. Here, I don't understand why they went to strength of 5 gorillas over Mylan. Not that it's a bad thing. Death Trap, can use all the help he can get. But, yeah, just kind of a weird choice. And then, 20% cooler down here rather than one of these two. So, yeah, just overall kind of weird choices. And I don't think it's the best of the legendary comms. I mean, a lot of characters like Zero and Axton and Maya, their legendary comms are really amazing. This one just kind of seems sporadic, and for not just boosting those top ones, it doesn't really have a theme or go after something. And then the fact that it's missing probably 1 or 2 passive boosts that it should also have kind of puts it at one of the weaker of the legendary comms in the game. Not saying you can't make it good, and not saying you can't make good builds out of it. I'm just comparing it to the other characters. It's a little short-sighted, I guess. But, let's move on to the Slayer of Terra, which, as I've covered before in all of these, the burn chance and burn damage is only fire dots, not fire damage on the bullets. The max health is outside of the max health formula, so it can't be boosted by percents to max health, which is kind of lame. And then you only get +4 to 5 skills rather than +5 like your other ones. So in this one, Fancy Mathematics is a very good shield recharge skill. No issues there. Made of sterner stuff, it's alright. This is a really, really good skill because, Gaige is really only Slag skill, which is very helpful. And, I mean, Evil Enchantress can definitely get some work done. Especially when you spec fully into all this stuff. But, really, if you're going to do something with Evil Enchantress, you're not going to use this comm. And then, this is what makes this comm good. It's the only comm that really boosts this, so that you can get up to 600 Anarchy stacks. That's the one niche thing about this comm. So at least with this comm, Gaige has a reason to use it. But you really don't need to get up to 600 stacks. I know some people do the 600 stack sham fleeting, but I have little respect for that. So it's probably the best of the Slayer of Terra comms just because you can get that up to 600 stacks. And yeah. So at least she's got that going for her. Next, I guess I'll just start with the one that was on top, and that's the Roboteer. And this one is all about Death Trap. And if you want to do a Death Trap specific build, this is a pretty good comm, outside of the fact that the melee damage on the passive boost once again goes to Gaige, not Death Trap. And that's kind of a bad oversight. But if we actually go to the skills of it, we got Potent, Strength of 5 Gorillas, and Sterner stuff on the purple. And then you add down 20% Cooler and Annoyed Android, which if you're going Death Trap only, it's not that bad. But the other thing I'm going to go here is that cooldown rate at 29%. It's just kind of low. You know, Maya's binder comm, I think, is around 23% at max. That's to all players. That's a team boost, which is usually down. And then her legendary siren's like 53%. Now I get that this has got 2 passives, but it's melee damage. The cooldown should have been higher, basically. So, getting past the passives, which are, like I said, cooldown's good, it's just not enough. To go with the actual skills, increase the maximum health. That's important if you're going to using, well, with Upshot Robot to make them out there for longer, doing more damage. Adding damage reduction and melee damage is very good. And more cooldown rate. So now between these two, you have just about 50%, 49 to be exact. So that's pretty good. And then here, again, the melee, very good for him. And Annoyed Android, you know, this is going to increase his DPS, helping to get from enemy to enemy faster. So, it's nicely themed. They couldn't really have done any other skills that are focused on Death Trap. Although, tossing one to help Gaige wouldn't be bad, but with Anarchy, Gaige doesn't need that much help all the time. So if you have a strong Death Trap that's going to be out there for a while, killing quite a bit, it's not a bad, not bad, it's just they should have done the passives better. Next, Legendary Anarchist. This one here is, the passives are kind of like mini Anarchy, less accuracy, more damage. And they threw away all of the actual skills on this, much like one of the Axton comms. You went from Fancy Mathematics, Annoyed Android, and Death from Above, which probably wasn't the best 3 skills to have on there. Again, Annoyed Android, pretty decent, but not spectacular. Death from Above is pretty much useless. Fancy Mathematics is very good. So now, you have Unstoppable Force, which is a shield regen instead of Fancy Mathematics, but it also gives you that movement speed. And that's actually quite nice for Gaige, just getting to point A to point B to take down enemies, because you need to kind of be close range with high Anarchy since you don't have much accuracy. So this is actually kind of nice. More shield capacity and some resistance to shock damage isn't bad. Melee damage for Death Trap. And then this helps you stack really fast. And the better half is nice for your DPS. Sure, you lose a little bit more on the mag, but 9% compared to 50% reload speed isn't that bad. So this is actually a pretty well-rounded comm. I guess I don't really have too many complaints about this one. You know, maybe these two could have been kind of relocated somewhere else. This isn't really Death Trap specific comm, so giving him a little bit of help isn't bad, but this could have gone somewhere else to help Gaige a little bit more. But yeah, maybe to the better half would have made it better, or Cooking Up Trouble, make her a little more tanky. But overall, it's one of her better ones. Alright, so the Catalyst. So Catalyst is your elemental one. Now, this comm is both good and I don't really want to go terrible, but good and bad. The team elemental effect damage is probably the weakest of the team comm boosts. Maybe Krieg would like it, but no one else really makes dots work other than Gaige and Krieg. So, not many characters care about this compared to, you know, a legendary binder or I guess the legendary nurse's slow passive health regen isn't great, but that comm's such a good team comm. But, you know, Axton, you can get shield recharge. Sal, you can get ammo regen. Krieg, you can get kill skill duration increase. I mean, all these are awesome boosts. You know, the legendary hoarder, of course, or a hoarder in general. This one, not so much. But for Gaige, herself, it's really good. Because this is kind of like her robot comm, strictly focused on Death Trap. This is strictly focused on her shock damage. So this increases your chance to apply a dot, and since you're doing a kind of a dot-centric build, it works. This gives you a fire dot on top of your shock dots, which is nice because you get rid of the shield and you get a fire dot. This increases the damage of those dots. This increases your shock damage in general and your dot damage from shock guns, and this gives you slag. So it's well thought out. And some people say you can't use these and they don't work. This does work in OP8. Maybe I'll do a video demonstrating that. Warriors Don't Talk is kind of a one that's in question. This definitely does suck though. Whoops, didn't mean to actually grab that, but wanted to kind of just go down through here. So Warriors Don't Talk with 10 out of 5 is 30%. Now matching fire to flesh or corrosive to armor is plus 75% damage. So people say this sucks because you don't do as much as you would matching elements. And there's something to be said about that. But there's very few things in this game that resist shock. And because she's got anarchy, this boosts anarchy since it's elemental. And you can make your shock damage stupidly high. And sure, you could make your fire damage stupidly high and your corrosive damage, but swapping weapons takes time. And this does make it so you can run around with a singular build. About the only there's ion loaders, and that's about it. There's not much that ignores shock. And there's a lot of really good shock guns, like the Twister, for example, which Gaige loves. You put this on top of the Twister, on top of Anarchy, and nothing really stands a chance. But even guns like the Thunderball Fist that are shock only, or the little Eevee, and Death Trap's got a long cooldown. You know, there's a lot of things that you can make work with this. So, it is not at all a terrible skill. It's kind of nice for that neutral thing. It's kind of like Jacob's fans like non-elemental because they don't have to worry about matching all these elements because, well, I guess armor slightly resists non-elemental, but not by much. And like I said, nothing really resists shock, so you can run a singular element, really increase the dots on it, add fire dots to it, and do some pretty good things. And swapping weapons lowers DPS. So this should have been a higher percent. I agree with that, but it doesn't mean it's shitty or pointless like some people say. It is good, but it should be better. It should not be 75%. That would be broken. Maybe 50%, maybe 45, maybe 40 at 10 out of 5, but it should be more. I don't know the exact number. I don't know at what point it's too high or what point it's too low, but it should be a little bit more. I definitely agree with that. But, you know, I was pretty rough on Gaige, calling her the worst designed character before when I went over those comms, but that's a lot more on, well, I guess a lot of it was just about her having a lot of bad skills, and that stands true. I mean, she's got bad capstones and that stuff, but I think I'm being a little softer on her comms in this video. Anyways, so, wait, that was all of them. That's the last one. So, I still don't love her class mods. I don't think she has any of them that aren't problematic at all. A lot of them, she's got bad passives on it. And this Catalyst, well, that's a good passive for her on this. It's a bad team one, and it's a bad team comm, but it works for her. You know, the Legendary Necromancer is kind of all over the place and short on passive buffs. Legendary Anarchist is pretty solid, but it's not like Maya's Cat comm or as well designed as Maya's Nurse comm, or some of those ones that are just like spot on, like every skill is just about perfect and a brilliant idea. You know, the Roboteer, again, the passives are problematic, but the other ones, at least theme-wise, work really well. And you can do good Death Trap builds, but The other problem with this one, the robot, is for a lot of people, you just throw a hide on Death Trap, and that's all you need to do. Well, I guess with claws and a hide, and you're done. You don't need a comm for him. You just do that, and then you wear a comm for yourself. So that's kind of the problem with that. But that's, once again, that's more design than the class mods. So for you guys that are more Gaige aficionados than I am, let me know where you stand with all this stuff, and maybe I'll do a Gaige shock video of just a catalyst build and show that it can work and work really well. As you can see, I have some shock weapons on here. I think I was playing around with that before I did my Wanderlust video. And yeah, so let me know what you think, where I'm right or wrong, where we disagree, because my opinion is not the end-all be-all by any means. There's people out there that play a lot more Gaige than me that probably know better than me, so I'd like to hear from you guys, and I am not opposed to adding corrections to myself. Thanks for watching once again, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.